Hello, I'm Scott Bogie here with your LFA middleweight, Jake Woodley, ahead of his upcoming fight against David Wright. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. And how are you feeling ahead of this fight?
I'm feeling really good. I think I'm gonna easily finish this guy probably in the first round. I don't think it's gonna be much of a challenge. I'm not too worried. I'm just ready to go to the next level.
And how do you see this fight stylistically?
Um, David's like a grappler, but I'm a grappler too, and I'm a lot better at it. So, I think I'm better at striking too. I think I can beat this guy everywhere. So we'll just see where the fight takes me, but definitely gonna go in and finish this guy and move on.
Exactly. And you're having a very active year. You started the year back in April with that unanimous decision victory. How did you kind of rate that performance from yourself?
Yeah, it was pretty good. Bummed I didn't get the finish, but I fought hard and got some 10-8 rounds, so that's pretty unique. There was a weird like tornado warning at the end of the second round. We got a big
Yeah.
break going into the third round, so that kind of changed things a little bit, but just stayed focused and got the win. So, I'll never be too upset about a win, but I definitely wanted to get a finish that fight.
Exactly. And like you said, you did have that tornado warning in between rounds. How does that kind of affect the fight? Because also you're in that mood, that mindset of in the fight, and then suddenly instead of that 30 seconds to 1 minute, you've got that longer break between the rounds. How does that kind of affect you?
I felt like my opponent was breaking a little bit, so I would have liked the only the 1 minute break. But my forearms were a little flooded from wrestling a lot, so the long break kind of let my forearms be ready to wrestle again for 5 minutes, but it also gave him a
Yeah.
fresh mindset and everything. So advantage and disadvantage for both of us.
And do you feel like this is how you are wanting this year to go so far? Is that activity level? Every It was 2 months just now, but once that fight goes, get back into the cage as quickly as possible.
Yeah, for sure. Um, I'm trying to fight all the time. I'm always trying to fight, so I'm always trying to have that quick turnaround, and I'm glad that that happened this time around.
And do you feel like that is one of the advantages of being able to compete in an organization like LFA, which does have multiple events per month?
For sure. Yeah, I appreciate everything LFA has done. They've done a pretty good job of getting me on shows. I've had a couple like because I fought in November, then didn't fight till
Yeah.
April, but so that was kind of a long break. But they were trying to match me up, and it just wasn't really working out. So they're always trying their best for me.
And do you feel like that kind of shows like your skill level when it is trying to struggle to get you matched up because guys aren't wanting to fight you because they know how much ability you do have?
Yeah, I think that's part of the issue. Guys aren't really trying to fight, but it's all right. I got an opponent that's down to fight, so we're back in it.
And then after this fight, after you go out there, you get that first round stoppage. What are you looking for next? Are you looking for that fight on the contender series or that short notice call up? Or what are you wanting next?
Yeah, after I get this easy finish, I'm looking for UFC or contender series next for sure. At the very least a LFA belt, but I'd like to move on after this one.
And are you starting to kind of look at the upcoming UFC cards just to see if there is a dropout for you to just step in there?
A little bit actually, yeah. I know July 11th there's two middleweight fights where all the guys have like around 10 fights, so maybe July 11th if someone drops out, hopefully I would get the call there. So I have actually been looking at that a little bit, yeah.
And how ready are you? Like, what would be like the weight that you'd have to drop off?
I walk around at like 210, so I mean I only need like a week to make weight. It's not too hard to make 185, so and a lot of times those short notice calls they do a catch weight anyway, so I'll be ready if they call.
And how do you kind of rate that middleweight division just now? Obviously, you have got that belt that just changed hands in Sean Strickland, but how do you kind of rate the contenders right now for the belt?
I mean, every weight in the UFC is tough, but I believe that my wrestling and my skill set's better than anyone. So once I get that opportunity to be there, hopefully I'll rise to the top very fast.
Exactly. And you have got the thing that the UFC are looking for in the fact you do try to turn it around very quickly. You're not one of those guys that wants to fight once or twice a year and then just sit out the rest of the year. You're always looking for a fight. Do you feel like that is one of the advantages you have over people is the fact you are always eager for fights?
Yeah, that's definitely got to help me the fast turnaround, and I just turned 27, so I'm still pretty young.
Yeah.
So I think those are some advantages.
And how has the gym been recently?
Really good. We had a lot of guys. I just got out of sparring a little bit ago, and we had a lot of guys there this morning. So the Jackson Wink's been really good. Lots of bodies to train with. Some of the best coaches. So it's been a great place to train.
And do you have quite a few guys in there that kind of resembles David and the challenge that you have ahead?
Yeah, I've got some guys that are similar body type and stuff, and I've been working some southpaw stuff, but I'm also just training to get better myself. I mean,
Yeah.
I know I'm gonna smash this guy easy, so I'm focused on my development as well. I mean, I'm getting a little bit of, southpaw looks and stuff because he's a southpaw, but I trained with him before, and I don't think this is going to be very difficult.
Or did you've actually trained with David before?
Yeah, I trained with him in Oklahoma like over a year ago, I think.
And
And
how is that? Because obviously you will have seen what he's done. He will have seen what you've done. How is it being able to try to change up a few things that he may have not seen during those training sessions?
yeah, I mean, I don't know why he took this fight because when we trained together, I know we both know who was winning those rounds. So you know, I don't know what adjustments he's going to make. I'm gonna do the same thing because what I was doing was working. So, and I've gotten a lot better since then. That's a lot of where my confidence comes from too. If I could get the better of him over a year ago, I'm definitely going to smash him now because I've gotten so much better. I've moved gyms, I've trained a lot harder, so
And
should
how has that new gym been for development? Because obviously it is kind of hard to try to find gyms where you can elevate your game. But how the move been for you?
it's been great. Albuquerque's in elevation, so it's good for my cardio. I got a lot of big bodies. Where I was training before. I mean, I was getting great training in California and everything, but I was kind of driving around trying to find big guys,
Yeah.
and now I got 10 plus big guys at sparring on Tuesday and Thursday. So Albuquerque's been a great place for me.
And like you said, you do have that elevation where you are. So being able to know that you can do 15 minutes in there, 25 minutes in there, it just shows you will be able to have that cardio when you do go down to in places that aren't as high of an altitude as what you're currently training each and every single day.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes it. I noticed it in my first fight after training out here. Um, I won a decision that fight, but after the first round, I like going into the second round, I was almost 100% good. It was pretty crazy the recover how fast you can recover in 1 minute when you're down at sea level. So if this fight gets past the first round, which I'm not expecting it to, then I know I'm gonna be 100% fresh going into the second round, and then I'll definitely finish it in the second round because he's gonna be tired.
And like you said, you do have that great wrestling background behind you. How how do you feel about fighters doing these side quests, as Armin would like to call it, going into the RAF, going into like the different grappling competitions? How do you kind of see that transitioning before MMA athletes?
Yeah, I think doing those little side competitions are definitely good for you. Keeps you active, keeps you competing, helps you make a little extra money. So I haven't really had any opportunities like that yet, but I wouldn't say no to anything like that.
And coming up, what has been your toughest test so far?
In MMA,
Yeah,
um, I don't know, maybe the fight that I lost, even though I just feel like I was so much better than him, I shouldn't have lost that fight. But pretty much all my fights in LFA have been pretty tough opponents. So I'm like 4-1 with LFA right now, I think. So my last 5 fights have been pretty tough and challenging, and it's just going to prepare me for the next level.
and do you feel like that is one of the another advantage of LFA is they're going to give you a tough opponent? Obviously, with David, you are confident in that fight, but you can't deny that he does have that experience behind him. Whereas another organization, you may not get an opponent like that.
Yeah, for sure. He's 6-2, so he looks pretty good on paper and everything. But aside from his last win, I mean, he's fought like horrible guys on the
Yeah,
regional scene. So, but he is tough. Like I'll give the respect where it's due. He's pretty explosive, and he's like a pretty good grappler, I guess, in the MMA world. But he's not going to be able to take me down or hold me down if he does take me down, and he's not going to be able to get up. And I believe I can outstrike him. So
and do you feel like that is one of the problems about MMA fighters nowadays? Is quite a few of them are starting to try to pad their records, get in fights where you their opponents not even have a win. I know there's a fight coming up on one of the women's fights in the UFC where none of their opponents, apart from the Contender Series or the UFC, have even got wins, and they're like 6 fights in, 7 fights in. Do you feel like that is one of the reason problems with MMA just now? Is a lot of padded records are moving into the UFC.
yeah, I think the padded record thing will get you onto the contender series, but I don't think the padded record will get you that short notice call.
Yeah.
But I've seen a lot of padded records get into the contender series. So yeah, I mean that happens a little bit, but I think eventually you'll fight someone tough, especially if you're going to the contender series or UFC. You'll meet your match one day, and if you're not a legit fighter with just a padded record, then you'll be exposed. So I think with time, all those padded record guys will get exposed.
And what has been the biggest piece of advice that someone has given you in this game?
A lot of people told me in the beginning to, take my time and learn learn everything. So, I mean, I think that was probably the best advice because a lot of people rise too fast, and I listened at least a little bit. I trained for like a year before I took a fight, which was pretty smart. And then, I did 3 fights before I went into LFA. Um, which I mean, those fights were tough too. They weren't completely horrible fights, but those 3 fights definitely prepared me for LFA because then I had been training for 2 years and fighting for 1 year before I had a fight with LFA. So I had some experience.
And how, obviously, the UFC is the end goal. We all are wanting to end up there. But how has the emergence of Netflix and obviously PFL with their recent signings, how do you feel like that will be able to keep the UFC kind of on their toes to try to keep it from being us, keep doing what they're doing, keep having that low pay grade? Do you feel like having these two as that competition in the coming years can only benefit fighters just from making that move?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully that helps with the UFC pay and everything. Those kinds of organizations. But also, you know, the UFC is always going to be number one. It's going
Yeah.
to be hard for them to truly compete. But hopefully, it at least just drives the price for fighters up a little bit.
And do you feel like having the LFA as part of, also they were part of that UFC Fight Pass. I know they've got their own brand deal now, but having that having that in the background can only help you having that exposure, getting your name out there a bit more.
Yeah, the UFC Fight Pass thing, it was a bummer LFA got taken off it, but they still have a good relationship with the UFC and they send a lot of guys to the UFC, and that's like LFA's goal. They're always promoting on their
Yeah.
Instagram, like, look at these former LFA guys in the UFC. You know, LFA guy just signed to the UFC, and so they still have good relationship with the UFC, which is
Uh,
why I still like to fight for them.
And how do you find this card that you're currently on just now? Obviously, we're still waiting to see what happens with that main event due to Landry having to withdraw. But you've already got a lot of talented fighters on that card as well, which can only help you with getting the eyes on the card.
Yeah, I didn't even know the main event is in jeopardy right now, so I had no clue. I haven't. I know there's another middleweight fight on the main card, just for like looking in the future for
Yeah.
myself. You know, I noticed that, but other than that, I haven't really been paying attention to the card much.
And do you feel like that is where you kind of have that? It's like you're looking at the card, you're seeing that other middleweight fight, so you're trying to suss out potential opponents for the future.
Yeah, yeah, because obviously I'd like to go to UFC or Contender
Yeah.
Series after this fight, but you know, if I have to stay in LFA and fight for the belt, I assume I'm gonna fight the winner of the other middleweight fight. So just kind of, or maybe I fight the winner of that fight in Contender Series instead of the LFA belt. So I'm always looking at my weight class and seeing what's happening.
Exactly, because with the Contender Series, they have done that before where they have put two fighters from the same organization in there. I think it was just last year. I think it was Flyweight, where it was LFA champ versus another LFA fighter on the Contender Series. So they aren't opposed of doing that. How, how do you kind of, going back to right from the start, is there anything that you would change about your game going forward?
No, I think I'm on the right path. I've made good decisions. I wouldn't really change anything, and I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing because I've been getting a lot better in the practice room and been winning a lot. So I'm just gonna stick to the grind.
And do you do anything after the fight, like kind of a normal ritual, like any food that you like to go for, anything you like to do with family, anything like that?
Yeah, I like to eat pizza, hang out with family, drink some beer. You know, past couple fights have been in a casino. I'll play some craps. You throw the die around, get a little wild. Just like to have fun after I fight for a week or two. Go out to California, go to the beach, coach a little wrestling, and then back to it.
Now, what's on that pizza?
My favorites: pineapple and bacon.
That sounds good. And have you been as lucky as you have been in the cage when you go to the craft table?
Last fight, yeah, I did pretty good on the craps table after my last fight. I like to put some money down on the field, farm the field, and make a little extra cash. I made, you know, extra a couple $100 last time, which was pretty cool.
Well, if you guys know any craft tables about any places that serve pineapple and bacon pizza, make sure to leave them in the comments. Can't wait to see you get that victory and see what is next. Is there anything you'd like to add or anyone you want to shout out today?
No, not really. Just appreciate my management and practice partners, coaches, and LFA and everything for giving the opportunity. And that's about it. I'm gonna go put on a show.
Exactly. Make sure you guys tune in on June the 19th. It's a fight you definitely don't want to miss out on, and we can't wait to see what's next. Thank you so much for coming on.